Doma Sports Talk, worldwide, with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Boy, boxing, boxing, boxing. Well, I had a little time on my hands, so I revisited an old fight, from one of my Negro League fighters, Guillermo Rigondeaux, when he fought Nonito Donaire back in 2013, right? And this explains a lot of things that are going on with the Demetrius Andrade, with the Shakur Stevenson, with the Devin Haney. What would you think by, you might ask? Well, we'll get into it. But the bottom line is, do we have any black superstar boxers? Right? Really superstar pay-per-view stars. We keep saying Errol Spence, but 350 pay-per-views, not really a superstar like they probably should be. And it's just really, go watch Nonito Donaire and Guillermo Rigondeaux. Again, not the highlights, the whole fight. But you're going to have to give yourself about an hour because you're going to have to watch the whole fight and the commentary. And I will say this is a disclaimer from the beginning. You had Jim Lampley, Roy Jones, and Max Kellerman, and you had Harold Letterman as a scorer, and they were extremely fair while watching it live in real time. After that, what happened after that, I don't know. But during the fight, they knew and understood what they were seeing and what they were watching. And it was good to see that. Right? Listen, Nonito Donaire was pound for pound, I think, number 2 or 3 at the time. And he was the fighter of the year in 2012. His trainer was Robert Garcia. He was the trainer of the year in 2012. So they were riding a high. Matter of fact, Donaire was a 2-1 favorite over Rigondeaux at the time. I think Rigondeaux had about 10 fights at the time. So, this was totally, supposed to be Donaire knocking out this brother who had an amateur career and was supposed to go, do what's supposed to happen. He was supposed to beat him up, right? Coming up there trying to knock him out. Actually, he ended up doing Lomachenko when Lomachenko fought Lopez. Nothing, basically, in the first 7, 8 rounds, right? Matter of fact, Nonito Donaire lost the first 9 rounds. He won 8 rounds. He won round 9 because it was a 10-8. He knocked Rigondeaux down. I didn't like that knockdown, to be honest, because it came after a clinch and then a left hook. But okay, he knocked him down, and then he didn't win a round after that either. All right? He didn't win a round after that. School was in session. He was schooled, and you were seeing boxing at its very best. Now, the crowd started to boo here and there because he couldn't be hit. Now, it seemed as though they were booing Rigondeaux at the time, because he wouldn't get hit, right? He was totally elusive, but Rigondeaux was also throwing the most punches. Think about it. You're getting booed. You're throwing the most punches. You're landing clean shots, but you're not getting hit. So the crowd kind of started booing, right? Which is kind of normal. Now, this was a whitewash. I think your boy won 1 round, Nonito Donaire. Now, fast forward to the decision, right? You had a score of 114-113, which is absolutely ludicrous if you watch that fight. 115-112, also ludicrous. It wasn't even that close. 116-111 is the only one that's decent. But it should have been 117-110 or 111-118-110 or something like that. He didn't win a round except the one. He got it 10-8, but he didn't win a round. But it was just very important to watch that fight because then you understand what's going on now with these fighters. Because a lot of times these fighters, especially Negro League fighters, they always talk about, they avoid it. Now, I'm not talking about the punching ones, right now. I'm not talking about the ones that can punch, and you understand why people don't want to fight him, like a Deontay Wilder or a Jamal Charlo. Obviously, there's some power there. Those I'm not talking about right now. I'm talking about the Shakur Stevenson, the Devin Haney, the Demetrius Andrade of the world, a Michael Hunter in heavyweight. Why were those people being avoided? Because of things like Rigondeaux. Let me tell you something. A knockout is still not good because you got knocked the hell out. But when you wake up, you can start complaining, man, I made a mistake. Man, next time I'm going to clean that up and I'm going to be okay. We just saw with Dillian White versus Povetkin. He made a mistake, got hit with an uppercut. Next fight, he came in, albeit against something was wrong with Povetkin in that fight, but he came back, he seemed to have cleaned his stuff up, attacked, and got away with it. Beat him, right? But when you get dominated every single round, there's nothing to say. There's nobody want to see that. You had Pacquiao and Marquez. They had 4 fights. People want to see the 5th fight between those two, right? Always close. Does anyone want to see Marquez versus Floyd Mayweather again? No, you don't, do you? Because it was a total dominance there. You don't want to see that. You really don't want to see Pacquiao and Mayweather either. There was some separation and a whole lot of it, and that's what happened with Donaire and Rigondeaux. That's why Rigondeaux, after a fight like that, we should have crowned Rigondeaux number one, number two, pound for pound at the time or something, instead of blackballing the man and calling him boring, not the guy who's normally exciting but didn't do anything in that fight. All of the boring fighters. Remember Floyd Mayweather? Isn't he the chairman or the king of being boring? But does anybody walk him down? Not even in his fourth weight division, which was welterweight. Well, no welterweight's really walking this man down, right? Because you're worried about what's coming back. Same thing with all of them. You're worried about what's coming back. This is absolutely ridiculous. We kind of see, we've watched these fighters, and when a person of color is elusive, then, he's boring or he's running or something. And then we get a big old behemoth, bigger than everybody. Tyson Fury, huge. And his elusiveness is celebrated. What do we being elusive for? I'm 6'9", 270. I ain't even supposed to be elusive. What's elusive? First of all, people got to reach to get you. Right? So that's elusive already. So all you gotta do is back up and you're kind of elusive. But Tyson Fury does got some awesome defense. I've seen him play defense the whole time. Let some scrub. It wasn't some, I don't like to call him scrub, but not a great fighter, swing at him and couldn't hit him at all. Right? And that's celebrated, his defense. But the other ones, right? People of color, then it's something different. Right? Let me tell you something. When you get embarrassed in a fight, it's worse than a KO. Because you can't come back talking about, hey, I'm going to adjust something. Right? It ain't nothing you can adjust. Right? That's what the problem is there. So, let me tell you something. After that fight with Donaire and Rigondeaux, do you know 33% said they thought that Donaire won that fight? After watching, that's why I watch it so you can see what we're talking about. This is despicable behavior from people. How you going to watch that fight and say that this guy won? What the hell is wrong with you? It's the same thing all the time. Even after the fight, they start retallying the scores and trying to figure out how they can make it closer so they can do stuff like this, right? So when we go back to, fights like this, people don't want a Rigondeaux to happen. That's why they didn't ask Canelo Alvarez to fight Demetrius Andrade for Undisputed in 2019 in September, right? That's why they're not asking Ryan Garcia, that's the mandatory for Devin Haney, to just fight for the championship. That's why they didn't ask Teofimo Lopez, who had the other belts, and he could have fought Devin Haney for Undisputed. Nuh-uh, right? That's why Oscar Valdez or my man Jamel Herring, who just won against Carl Frampton, sent him into retirement. They can fight each other, Valdez and Herring, but ain't nobody trying to fight Shakur Stevenson. Here's a young brother, just like Devin Haney, who we can crown as being awesome superstars at a young age. But if we do that, we have a problem. Because we know they will fight everybody, and they will fight all their mandatories in a row. That's why they want Deontay Wilder. But he's a puncher. I want to kind of leave him out, but I'm just going to say this one thing about Deontay Wilder. He was saying, I want to be undisputed, and I can constantly just fight mandatories. The boxing industry doesn't want something like that. No confusion. No people that we can designate to be up above others. People that we can say that they're greater than they are. Right? For me, it's really despicable to when you say Canelo Alvarez is the number one pound for pound and you know about boxing. You are doing something almost illegal to say that. So the reason would be, what is your motivation? Right? Because all of these guys I mentioned, there's no one in their weight division for years who they won't fight. And you know that. So this is just another example of what I'm talking about. Right? So do me a favor, guys. Go revisit Nonito Donaire and Guillermo Rigondeaux. And then you'll open up the understanding. And make sure after that fight, Rigondeaux, because you probably barely know the man, right? After a fight like that, he should have been a household name, right? Because he just beat Fighter of the Year, beat the Trainer of the Year, and he beat him convincingly where there was nothing to say, nothing to talk about. The only thing you could have talked about that fight was, what kind of scorecards were you guys looking at? Shoot, Harold Letterman had my man winning 1 round, right? 1 round. So that's what's going on. Fighters would rather be knocked out than be embarrassed and being on the other side of a whole lot of separation. And Guillermo Rigondeaux versus Nonito Donaire was an example of that. That's why a Shakur Stevenson, a Devin Haney, a Michael Hunter, and I'm forgetting the other one, right? Who I got? Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, Michael Hunter, and Demetrius Andrade. That's why they're not getting fights, because it's a, it's a whole lot of embarrassment that's quite possible with those guys. You feel me? Doma Sports Talk worldwide, and go watch that damn fight. And I'm up out of here, y'all.